Hey, good morning, Business Objects fans. This is Bruno with 360 Suites, live from the sunny Boston, Massachusetts. We're going to have a great time today, all together today. I will be co-presenting with the famous and popular Pauline Lancaster. So Pauline has been a senior pre-sales engineer for us, I think for what, 5 years right now?
5 years.
Pauline, 6 years?
5 years. 5, yep.
Actually has been a while. And I'm saying popular because all our customers know you. And I have to say, if I owed you a drink each time a customer would tell us how helpful you've been with them, frankly, I'd be bankrupt. So, thanks for all the work that you're doing, Pauline, as always. So today, just a few things before we start. This event is being recorded, and make sure that you submit your questions in the chat box as always. The recording will be available on YouTube, and at the end, there will be a survey, an exit survey. Typically, it takes a couple seconds to fill out, so make sure that you do it and let us know how we did and how the event was. Was it, of interest for you guys or not? The topic that we're going to discuss today is going to be around how to go from UNV to UNX. So we're going to show you step by step the entire process of how that should be done. Before we start, we've got a first poll. We're interested to know, well, what type of universes are you guys on? Are you guys on UNV? Are you guys on UNX? Do you have a combination of both UNV or UNX? Or actually, it's possible that you guys are not using universes and you've got some interest about how, what are UNXs? So please just take a couple seconds to fill out the poll, and then we'll be sharing the results of the poll, right just in a couple seconds. And Pauline, like UNX have been out since when? Do you recall that?
2013, yeah, we have, yep.
So that's been a while.
4.0.
Yeah. That was not the best for 4.0, but actually that's been quite a bit of time, and it's still amazing to see so many people are still not in UNX. So, okay, let's see. So right now, 39% of you guys, have only got UNVs. Most of you guys have not migrated to UNX. That's quite amazing, and definitely, and no surprise, is most of you have got a combination of UNV and UNX, and that's pretty much actually what I was expecting on that. So Pauline, around the agenda today, as I mentioned earlier, is our goal today is to show you, okay, what do I need to do to go from UNV to UNX step by step within BobJ, and how 360 is going to help you in the process of it. Pauline, can you share with us some background information and the benefits of going from UNX?
Sure, yeah, so like we just mentioned, SAP introduced in 4.0 UNX universes, so way back in 2013, so it's been a while. I know initially when they came out, a lot of us were hesitant to move. We wanted to make sure they were stable, give everyone else a chance to test it out first, but it's been around for quite a while now, and definitely is a good solution. A lot of developers that moved to the information design tool, which is where you develop your UNX universes, have said they prefer it over UNV. So it's a little bit of a learning curve, but it definitely is an improvement. And SAP announced the UNV end of life with 4.3, so that will be no longer supported after 4.3. So another reason to move.
And Pauline, by the way, and for the audience, in this presentation, there is a link with the SAP statement where you've got all the dates and all the information linked to it. So there's going to be a hyperlink with it.
All right. Right, so just to cover some of the benefits of moving to UNX universes. So, just like we said, UNVs are deprecated in 4.3. So any new enhancements are going to be for the UNX universes. So, they're still going to be supported UNV, but you're not going to get any enhancements. Multi-source universes are available in UNX. So you can have, multiple databases connecting to one universe. Dynamic default values in universe parameters is a nice feature. So if you've ever wanted to have dates available in your prompts to say, okay, I don't want to have to schedule this report every day and say run it for the previous day, you can actually create parameters in the universe, so you can have it, today's date or today -1. So you can leverage that. It makes it easier than some of the other solutions that people have probably used in the past. You can actually share your projects. That allows you to kind of collaborate with the universe development a little better than you are able to with UNV. And then, sometimes we have customers that are on using different types of reports or databases. So they require UNX universes. That's Crystal Reports for Enterprise and Crystal Reports 2020 both require UNX. If you're using Lumira or Design Studio. And then, a lot of customers moving to some of the cloud-based databases like Snowflake and Redshift, those all require UNX universes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pauline. And by the way, for the audience, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat box. We'll be covering them, at the end of the session. And I know there are a lot of attendees right now. I think for this event, we had over 320 registrants, so that's quite nice. Pauline, can you tell us what the key concepts are for UNX?
Yeah, so when the UNX universes are published, you're going to get a business layer, and the business layer is going to be all of your folders, your objects, and then there's a data foundation layer, which is all the tables, the joins, and then there's also a connection. So that makes up a UNX file. And some of the terminology is a little different. So the old terminology was classes. The new terminology is folders. A lot of us probably already called it folders because they look like folders. Detail objects are now attributes. Hierarchy is now navigation path. Self-restricting joins, instead of using those, you would use filters. And then instead of the @prompt, you would use a parameter in the UNX universes.
Great.
Okay. So first, so going on to the demo. So these are our steps, what we recommend.
Yeah, so the first step, as always, is just make sure you do a backup, because if there's something wrong, you want to be able to roll back. The advantage of leveraging 360 plus for this process is, of course, you can do a full backup, but the cool thing, it is completely incremental. So if there is something that's corrupted or there's a change that you shouldn't have done, you can basically roll back down to the object level. So it's very, very nice. Additionally is you can use it for DR environments. And then the cool thing as well is there are quite a few limitations in the recycle bin, even in 4.3, that 360 can do.
Right. And yeah, the backup is really important. We always recommend this before doing the conversion. So when you convert your universes, you'll still have the UNV universe. It just creates a UNX. So you still have the old one. However, when you repoint your WebI reports to your new UNX universe, you don't get a copy. It just repoints it and that's it. So if something goes wrong, you need a way to get back. Obviously, it's not going to be in the business object recycle bin because it wasn't deleted. So with 360, you can easily restore. I'll show you what that looks like here. So with 360, like Bruno said, we take a full backup. All the objects get backed up, all your folders, all your content. I'll just show you what the backup looks like. So we're backing up all your content. It's all the inboxes. You can back up the personal folders and the instances as well. So if something goes wrong with the report, you can restore it back as well as all the instances. And it's as easy as just clicking on couple clicks and you can get them back. So if I wanted to go back here to one of my reports, so here I am in one of my folders. If I wanted to, once I repointed it, if there was something wrong, I'd have my backup. So in this case, my backup was from the 6th of January. I could restore this to that version, and I can choose to also restore public instances, and that will bring it back to the previous version so I can quickly roll back if needed.
Thank you, Pauline. So then the second step is, once you've done your backup, is to do an assessment. So overall is you want to understand, well, what do I need to convert? When was it used? These are the typical questions that you have, of course, when you do that type of job. You want to know what you've got, what's the status, and 360 Eyes, in fact, here is going to help you. And by the way, it extracts all the metadata from the CMS, the auditor, and the file store and mixes everything. And they're pre-canned WebI documents that will help you to leverage that information. And of course, it's going to take snapshots over time, and you'll be able to compare them on that.
Right, and yeah, so I like to start with the counts of WebI by universe, just getting a list of the universes and how many WebIs, how many per universe. If you find you have universes with no WebIs, then they might not need to be converted, but this will give you kind of an overview. But you also want to go a step further and determine, what documents are being used. If you have documents out there that haven't been used in 5 years, you might have issues when converting, because when a document runs, that's when it gets the updated SQL from the universe, and if it hasn't run, it's not going to update. I would focus on the usage. So if we go into 360 Eyes, so yeah, like Bruno said, there are a number of WebI documents available that are pre-built, and this is one of them, is the document usage. So with auditing, you'll get information about what's being used, but you won't ever see documents listed in an auditing report that aren't being used. This shows all the usage, so it'll tell you if there's no action, and then the last action date. So you could filter this to say, okay, anything that hasn't been run in 2 years, I'm going to either archive it, delete it. Now you've backed it up, you can delete it, and just not focus on it to include it in the conversion, because typically the conversion, you've got lots of customers that have thousands of documents, and to narrow it down is definitely beneficial.
And Pauline, typically what we've seen with customers is, I think, around 60%, of course, it depends how old the environments are, but around 60% of the content is not used or hasn't been used in the past 13 months. So when you think about for that type of project, whether it's for the repointing or if it's for a migration and upgrade, just to know what hasn't been used will save you a lot of time, because you don't need to work on that, especially for when you convert UNV to UNX and then you've got all the reporting, it's not an easy process, and anything that you can get rid of, meaning that you don't need to do the work on, is going to save you a lot of time and save you a lot of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So how, of course, and then you of course need to convert, UNV to UNX. Can you show us how to do that in BobJ, Pauline?
Yep, so let me bring up IDT. Okay, so here we are. This is the information design tool. So this is the client tool that uses for UNX universes. The old universe design tool is for the UNV universes. And yeah, I had mentioned earlier, so this is the business layer. This is just the 3 file types that kind of encompass a UNX file. So you've got the business layer, which is all the classes, the objects, folders and objects, the data foundation layer, which is all your tables and joins, and then the connection. So it's very simple to do the conversion. There are a couple ways to do it. I find this the easiest. So if you go to File and Convert UNV Universe and select from a repository. So this works if you're UNV universes are in the same version as the IDT tool. So if you're on 4.2 SP8, you want those UNV universes to also be in that environment. So I just connect to my CMS. You can actually, so it'll list, the only universes that will be listed are the UNV universes. So in this case, I only have 2. We've converted all of ours. So just have these 2. The nice thing now is you can do multiple universes. In past versions, you had to do 1 at a time. You can pick, 20 at a time, however many you need to convert, you can do that. Click on OK, and then you've got some options. So you can keep the same destination folder. Maybe you want to separate them, put them in a different folder. You can do that, change the destination folder and browse that folder. This will automatically convert any app prompts that you have. So any of those app prompt expressions that you have, it'll convert to parameters, which is the new way of doing that app prompt. You can choose to include core universes, and then if you have any existing, you can overwrite. And again, when I convert this, I run convert, it's going to convert those files, and it's going to create a UNX copy. So that was so conversion done. So it doesn't take a lot. Those are pretty small, but the larger universes, the longer it'll take. But now I have a UNV and a UNX universe of those 2, and they're converted, and I can now move on to the next step.
So the next step being the repointing. So of course, once you've converted, you need basically to provide the new address there. And that's the whole value here of 360, where you can do this manually, which is, doable if you've got, just a few universes, but it can be a lot trickier if you got a large environment and extremely time consuming. And actually that process might look very easy, but it's never that smooth.
Right. Yeah, so the steps that with 360 to repoint are, first you're going to export your WebIs and their data provider. So this is just an example of, this is the path that those documents are in, the name of the documents. You'll see if there are multiple data providers, you'll see those listed, the current universe they're pointing to, and then you'll have a column, an empty column for the new universe. So that's where you would add the UNX universe ID. And then you just import that and it'll do the bulk updates for you. So I'll show you what that looks like in 360. So there are a couple approaches to doing this. So when you're deciding on how to do it, some customers choose to do it universe by universe. Some customers choose to do it folder by folder and just move everything. If they've converted all their universes, they'll do the personal folders first, and then maybe start doing public folders. And so there's a couple of different approaches, and either one you can use 360 for. So this approach would be if you're kind of deciding to do it by universe. So you've converted maybe 10 of your universes, and you just want to repoint the reports that are pointing to those 10. So this is our drill down feature. It's kind of an alternative to Query Builder, where I don't need to know the syntax of everything. So I'm just going to look, I want a list of universes. I want to know all the UNV universes in my environment. This gives me a list of all the UNVs, so only 14 in this case. And then I'm going to go to filter and drill down further. And now I want to know all the documents that are using those universes. Obviously, I'm going to focus on just the WebI because that's what we're repointing, and run that. So here's my list of my list of WebIs that are pointing to UNV universes. And I could have filtered if I was only focusing on certain UNV universes. And then here I would click on XLS, and I'm going to export all of those documents, their data providers, and I'll get that spreadsheet where it'll have a blank column where I can provide the UNX universe ID. So here's it exported. You'll obviously have a lot more in my doing it, so you don't have to watch it export. But so this first column shows the path of the document. You have the name of the document. You'll have the data provider ID, the data provider name. So you'll see if you do have multiple data providers, those will be listed. And in some cases, you may have reports that are pointing to 2 different universes, and that will show up as well. and then you'll just provide the universe ID, which you can easily get from 360 Eyes or 360 anywhere in 360 Suite to get the ID that you want to point to. So that would be the UNX universe. You'd save this Excel file and then come back into 360, and you then have the ability over here to do the repointing. So I can come in here and I would provide that Excel file that I just updated with my new UNX and run that, and it will repoint those in bulk. Okay, you'll get a log once that's done, so you'll know what passed, what failed with the repointing.
Thanks a lot, Pauline. That looked pretty simple. Sometimes in that process, what happens is things are not working or things are not displaying the way that they should. So 360 has got a solution to do regression testing, and you're able basically to validate that your WebIs are showing the right information once you've done that process. So that that type of regression is something that happens. It's not happening all the time, but it happens. Pauline, can you show us and can you tell us something about 360 bind and how to use it in that process?
Yeah, so yeah, when you're repointing UNV, UNX, it seems like a lot of our customers they're not just converting their universes, they're moving to Snowflake, they're moving to BigQuery, to another database, and they're at the point where they also have to convert the universes and repoint the WebIs. So they have multiple things that they're testing. So another reason why we recommend doing this before you get to that point. I always like to do upgrades one thing at a time, because then you don't know what was the problem. Was it the database? Was it the conversion? But if you're in that situation, bind is definitely beneficial. It'll catch anything that might have changed. So left-hand side is an example of a WebI pointing to UNV, and right-hand side is UNX. We'll go in and take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so here's, so this is a comparison that was run. It's just three documents. You can include the comparison with, 50, 100 documents. In this case, none of them were matching, 3 were non-matching. We'll take a look at this one. So on the left-hand side, this was before the repointing. So obviously the titles were different. Obviously, that would not be a result of a UNV to UNX, but just an example of how bind will highlight any differences between the two reports. It'll tell you, okay, it's the content that's different. Here, this field is orange, so anywhere I see that orange color, those are the differences. So again, the content, it's 112,000 on the left, 101,000 on the right. Something changed there. Another comparison that a lot of our customers like, especially if this is not just a UNV to UNX conversion, but also moving to a new database, being able to see the execution time and ensure that it's at least an improvement. So on the left-hand side, this was 12 seconds. On the right-hand side, it's 4 seconds. So it's highlighted in that orange color because I had selected to anything outside of a 20% difference, the threshold that would be highlighted as a difference. So that was highlighted. It's an improvement. So we're probably happy with that result, but it'll give you that information if you also need that. If you've got multiple pages, you can jump to the other pages in the document. Everywhere you see the orange is where you'll have differences on those pages. So yeah, this is definitely beneficial to be able to identify differences within your WebIs after the conversion.
And Pauline, are you able to show all the regressions? Like, let's say you got an admin that does the conversion, the reporting, he sees some regressions. So like here, you've got a very nice visual. But when you got like a very large environment, is there a way for you to document all these reports within 360, or all the differences within 360?
Yeah, so you'll get up here in the top, if you can see, there's a Excel, there's a summary that will export a list of everything that was compared. It'll highlight the response times, and you'll also get a detailed Excel spreadsheet of all the differences. So it'll tell you whether, you know, what the differences were, where it was on the page. So you have that documentation, so you can show, you know, these were compared. Either there were differences or there weren't. So yeah, you'll have that. That
So you
information.
can prove it was tested, yeah.
Exactly. Yep. You've got the summary. This just says, you know, what types of differences. It'll give you a summary of that, and then you'll get more of the detail in this this other option here. So it'll list all the differences. Yep, and highlight, is it, you know, is the content, you know, in this case it was text color, and again, not something that would probably change with a UNV to UNX conversion, but just to let you know that those are, you can compare the content, the formats, the structure, as well as the response times.
And Pauline, with 360, are you able to check what was repointed and what was converted? Are we able to capture metadata around that? Like, you've done a project, you've got to convert X.
Yeah, I mean, the same way that I had done this drill down, you know, if I could again go through and say, okay, I'm only looking at UNX universes, and I want to know what's pointing to them now. I could filter on certain universes or all of them, and then just find all the documents that are using those to validate, okay, I have done the repointing. You know, these WebIs are now pointing to UNX as opposed to the UNV. 360 Eyes would also provide that detail as well. So you would get the full list, and you'd be able to document that. So now I can see, you know, the title of my document, the path, and I can see that, you know, they're pointing to UNX, and I could export this to Excel and have that documented.
Thanks. And by the way, 360 Eyes, you're able to compare before and after as well. So just take snapshots, but these are two ways to see that. That's really nice. It's always important to be able to document, to show how it was before, how it is after, and just to prove things.
Right.
Let's go to the last step. Okay, how about if, you know, something goes bad?
Yeah, so if you do repoint a WebI and, you know, it's stopped working, even if you did this manually within WebI, you know, if you choose the UNX universe, if it converts and isn't working, you have no way of going back. It doesn't create a copy. So yeah, the only alternative is if you have a backup somewhere, you know, you create it in a separate folder. We see some customers create backup folders, and they've got, you know, copies of the reports all over the place. But the alternative is with 360 to be able to, let me go back, 360 to be able to easily roll back to a different document. So let me find. Yeah, so here in this particular document, so say it was no longer working and I want to go to a previous backup. So you know, we create a backup, gets created every time the change is in the document. So it was first backed up on January 6th, and then there was a change, and so it had a backup on February 2nd, February 5th. So I could convert, you know, just restore to that version. The other thing you can do is do a comparison before you do that restore. So I could do a comparison. It'll highlight any differences. This might tell you what might have gone wrong. So in this case, so data providers, variables were the same. So something changed in the report. So it looks like, yeah, so in the block. So it'll highlight any differences. So something was, looks like something was changed in this filter. Yeah, I guess the filter was broken and it was fixed in this version. So it'll highlight any differences in the query, in the actual report, if anything had changed, and also the variables. It'll highlight if there was anything different in those as well. So before you restore, you can validate that, or just choose to go to your backup and restore.
Thank you very much, Pauline. And typically in terms of backup, it's like an insurance policy. Yes, there is a backup in BobJ. Frankly speaking, actually even SAP uses our backup, and it's not as powerful as what we do. And the fact that you can do things incrementally is very nice. And pulling just a few words, and I know it's not a part of that, but what can you tell us about the recycle bin? How different is 360 Plus versus BobJ's recycle bin?
Yeah, so the 360 Plus recycle bin is outside of the CMS. So in business objects, the recycle bin is your objects that go in the recycle bin are still in your CMS. So they're just hidden, and then they're in the recycle bin. So they're kept there until you choose to delete them. A lot of customers will choose to delete them because that recycle bin can get rather large. Whereas 360 Plus, it's stored outside of. You define a repository to store them in, like a NAS or a SAN to have your backups, and it also backs up everything. So it's your users, the user personal folders, all their content. So if a user gets deleted, you can easily roll the user back. And restoring, if you do restore anything, it's like it was never removed. So same metadata, same last update date, same security, so everything's maintained. Yeah, so a lot of times, I mean, it's not, so in this case, converting from UNV to UNX, that WebI is not going to be in the recycle bin. It wasn't deleted, but you might need to restore, and that's rolling back to a previous backup, whereas the recycle bin is really just if something were deleted, and sometimes that's not what needs to be done in that case.
Thank you, Pauline. By the way, please feel free to ask your questions. I see some questions coming in. Please start to ask for questions and we'll cover them as we go. In terms of value, a lot of people think, well, why the hell do I need to get 360 for all that? Well, you've seen the process was not that straightforward and it's extremely time consuming. So there are different, in terms of value, of course, the number one value is, well, here you can do things on your own. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is you're going to reduce timelines and costs. Just the biggest benefit there is instead of having to convert, repoint everything, we're going to help you to target what you need to convert, what you need to repoint. And of course, naturally there in terms of repointing, we're going to go a lot faster. And we're going to be able to restore if there's something that goes wrong. You're going to be able to find if there's a regression to ensure that your users, it's pretty much seamless and they're happy, and not say, well, you guys, you IT folks, you did that upgrade which we didn't care about, or that migration and things are not working. Of course, that's something that sometimes happens. So that's something where we will help you. And definitely you're going to reduce all the costs, associated to that. Additionally, we've got it's like an ebook of what our marketing department has recently done. They've done really a very, very nice ebook that will be shared with the, in the follow-up of this event. Maybe, Paul, you can refresh, or I see the slide is there on the next slide. And let's see if it appears or not. If you can maybe I suggest you, hold on, let me see if, I'm just checking if that was refreshed or not. Anyway, so overall, we've got an ebook that will explain you how to convert step-by-step UNV to UNX. So it's pretty much whatever we've shown you is going to be included, in that ebook. So in terms of the last poll that we have is, of course, we're interested to work with you guys. So what's in your what's your level of interest in this webinar today? I'm there because I want to increase my knowledge and I would like to get the ebook. Okay, that's a pretty cool ebook. I don't really have any needs. I just would like to get a demo from 360 team. Definitely, we'd be more than happy to arrange that. I'm planning a project and would like to schedule a demo. That's definitely UNV to UNX. That's always part of a project and very often part of a larger project. And I'm planning a project in INE 360 Suite trial keys now. It's something that we definitely can help you with. Thank you very much. Pauline, if we can go back to the next slide. Okay, so overall, if you can go back, yeah. So overall, as well as in the follow-up, there's going to be a quiz. Okay, so that's around the reading. There's going to be a quiz that's going to be shared, which is around 4.3. So as you know, we did a lot of content in the past month around why going to 4.3, what's new in 4.3. I've actually personally passed that test last week. I had like a 78%. I thought I had done a little bit better. It's a quiz that will take you just a few minutes to pass. And it's just a benchmark, you know, how much you know about 4.3, and let me know if you got a better score than I did. I'm sure, Pauline, you'll crush me. I have to say I didn't spend too much time working on it. You know, actually there was no work to be done on that. That was kind of fun to do, but in the follow-up, there will be a link to the quiz that you can take, and it's just going to take you a couple of minutes, and you'll be able to benchmark yourself versus, you know, your peers. So that's kind of cool. So just a couple of minutes. It's kind of fun to do. Make sure you beat me. So
yeah, if I don't, I won't.
You've taken it?
I haven't taken it yet. No.
Okay.
I'll be sure to take it.
I hope you do better than I do.
Yeah, me too. That would be better.
Also around, I think on June 15th, in fact, we'll be having an event with SAP. It's going to be around, you know, the PCE, so Business Object, or SAP's Business Object Private Cloud Edition. So it's a cloud that's being managed, or Business Object is going to be partially managed by SAP. So they'll be handling all the upgrades of business objects, and the cloud or Object will be hosted then on Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud. So we're going to have an event where SAP will be explaining what is PCE, why should you go there, how does it work in terms of licensing, and then additionally we'll have some experts that will share their stories around it. We'll also show step by step how to go to basically to PCE, to the cloud. So it's going to be on June 15th at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure you join, and I know that's going to be quite popular. I'm expecting we'll have definitely more than 500 today. We had over 300 people who registered, so that's cool of you guys. Do you have time for a couple of questions, Pauline?
Yeah, I see we have quite a few. Yeah, definitely.
And so I see, you know, the first question I see from Mike, do you recommend doing this process all in once, universe by universe, or a big bang?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. You know, we've seen some customers that only do, you know, they're doing business area by business area, so they do universe by universe. So, you know, that's their strategy, that's their approach. That's just the way, you know, sometimes it's that time of year. You don't want the finance team to be having to deal with conversion as well. So, but, you know, if you don't have a, you know, a reason to separate it that way, it probably makes sense to do them all at once, so that you're, you know, you're doing it, you know, you're doing all the conversion, doing all the testing all at once, because a lot of times you will have documents that have multiple, you know, universe connections. So you could have one that has a UNV universe connection and a UNX. It's just better to, I would say, do it all once if possible. But in that case, you could also do it folder by folder. You know, so there's a couple different approaches.
As always. Second question, after I repoint my WebIs, can I revert back?
Yeah, if you have a backup, you can. So if you've created a backup, you know, copied over your documents, you can go back to the previous WebI. But after you do the repointing, it's not gonna, you're not gonna have a way to go back unless you have a backup. You know, either with 360 or your own backup that you created, a BIR file or a copy. And
by the way, as we were speaking, I saw, and I didn't see the details of the chat, but I could see that the link to register to the PC event. The Private Cloud Edition event was shared on the chat, so as the quiz, the 4.3 quiz. So, and maybe we'll share that again in the chat box.
I have a question that I wanted to see a question about. So the universe was converted. So how does the restore work? Yeah, so the universe was converted. So once you convert from UNV to UNX, you still have that UNV. And when you if you did a restore, you would restore back to the version of the document that's still pointing to the UNV. So hopefully that makes sense. It's the document that doesn't have a copy. The universe is you still have that UNV.
I saw there was a question from Asker, but I don't know if you've entered everything, Asker, but if you can, retype your question, because I just see your name, but I don't know what you're wanting to get an answer on. Pauline, I've got another question. Can you convert more than one universe at a time?
Yes, yep, you definitely can. I don't know if you were on when I showed the conversion. You can select as many UNV universes as you want and do that conversion in the information design tool.
Do you want to take another question, Pauline?
Yeah, somebody was asking about converting WebI reports only using the universe ID means UNX keeps all of the objects ID to the original UNV, right? Yeah, so the universe, when it does the conversion, it's looking for those IDs of the objects within the universe. So that's how it knows where to match it up. So where we see customers that have issues with this conversion, if they try to go and make changes before they do the repointing, so they go into the UNX universe and start making changes, you can rename the objects and it'll still be able to find them. But yeah, if for some reason you remove an object and then add it back, it's going to have a different ID, and so when you do the conversion, you won't be able to find that object. So that would cause issues. Hopefully that answered your question.
Any other questions? I see one. You recommend doing this before or after migration, because typically when people do that type of project, it's always part of a larger project. So, yeah, most of the time, that's what we've seen.
Yeah, and so someone's asking about using the change source feature in the rich client to migrate a report. Yeah, you can definitely do that one by one within WebI or the rich client. You can do that. This is more probably useful for customers that have thousands of reports. Even if you have only 100, if you have 100, it's a bit of an undertaking to go manually through each one and select the repointing. So that's typically when the bulk repointing is necessary, is needed.
You're good, Pauline?
Yeah, I think so.
All the questions I have, it's not updating, so I don't see if there were some new questions.
Okay. Yeah, I saw someone said they joined late. Yeah, UNV is getting deprecated in 4.3, but yeah, 4.3 is still going to be supported through. I think we shared a link in the slides. Yeah, I think it's like 2027. So you do have time. Yeah, so this is more for, I would recommend doing it prior to, maybe doing a database migration, because sometimes that comes up before you realize it. And then you've got not just the conversion, but also a database migration. And sometimes that's a lot to do at once. It's doable, but, and it seems that most customers that we work with, that's what they do, but it's better to do one at a time if possible.
I see a question from Chris. How to explain why some reports give different numbers? So I'm assuming that's relating to the regression part. The
regression. Yeah, and I think that's more usually with the repointing. You shouldn't see, you really shouldn't see those kinds of, like, we're not seeing, like, if you just did a repointing, nothing else, you probably won't see those kinds of differences. It kind of either works or doesn't, but there occasionally things happen. That's more for the customers that are doing both the UNV to UNX plus a database migration. That's probably where you're going to see those kinds of, that's where we see differences in data. Typically, it's something in the syntax of the database change, and so it's highlighting that. So you're right. Typically, this if all you're doing is the repointing, you shouldn't see those kinds of differences. Although things, it can depend, but you shouldn't.
I don't see additional questions. You see some more, Pauline?
Yeah, somebody was asking about the patch level.
Okay. Now I see the questions appearing.
Oh, you see them now? Yeah, someone was asking about the patch level that you can convert multiple. We're on SP 4.2 SP8. I can find out. I'm not sure when it was introduced, because previously, it was just one at a time that you could do. But yeah, no, it's I'd have to find. I have to find that out. I'm not sure when that was introduced. In 4.2, at some point. I'm just not sure which service pack.
I'll let you take some of the questions. So I don't know which ones you've covered. I've lost track.
Okay, no problem. I know I'm probably supposed. Yeah, so someone was asking, when you manually repoint the reports, you have options regarding the logic, such as the same path or same name or similar name. And they're asking if the batch repoint uses one set of logic. And which one does it use? So we don't have all the different options when you do the repointing. So if I go into 360, you're going to see, let's see. We can do. So we have, these are the options that we have. So same type only. So these are the accepted object type and accepted data, the similar type or any type. So these are the three options that we have here. So it's not the exact same options that you would see if you did it manually. And that's more needed if you're changing things. Definitely that makes it harder for doing the repointing. So if you're, if you go in, we have customers that they're doing a lot of changes to the universes after they do the conversion, and then that makes it harder to do the repointing. So as long as you're not changing anything, those should be sufficient for the repointing.
Pauline, I know there was a question that was asked twice. I'm just going through it. How to convert UNV BAPI connection to UNX. It throws error, OLAP universes are not supported. Any alternative way to convert?
Okay. I'm not sure what a BAPI connection is.
Yeah, same for me. It's UMA, so that's UMACont. And I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right.
Yeah, we can try to follow up on that and get back to you. I'm not sure about that. Or definitely maybe open a ticket with SAP if you haven't tried that yet.
We can look internally and see if we can help you out with that. I'll take a couple more questions.
Yeah, so what about someone asked, what about OLAP universe based on BW query? Yep, you can definitely convert those as well that are using BW. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing these out of order.
Yeah. So got a question, does this integrate the variables as well? From Cassandra.
Yep. So if you have variables that are referencing objects, those should also be repointed because it's still calling the same object, just like it does with the objects on the report. So the variables will also be updated. The entire report gets.
Okay, we got a question from Amerigo. May we simply use the change source feature of WebI Rich Client to migrate a report from UNV to UNX?
Yeah, so yeah, I had answered that one. Yeah, so you can definitely do that one. That would be one by one. And if you have a few to convert, that might be all you need. But this is typically the bulk update is needed for customers that have, thousands of reports to update.
There was a question earlier asking just for a clarification, repository meaning database or file system? I guess you've used that term earlier. And
Sorry, can
repository meaning database or file system?
Oh, okay. So the repository, if I was talking about the backup, the repository is actually a file system. Um, so I'm not sure what I was which what I was referring to in that case. But yeah, with our backups, there's a backup repository which is in a file system. But if we're talking about the eyes and how we extract metadata, it's from the CMS, the file store, and the auditor. I'm not sure if that's.
Pauline, have you answered that question from Anders? If a WebI has two different sources, universes, do you have to convert those universes at the same time?
No, you can. Yeah, you can do one at a time. You can have a a WebI pointing still to a UNV and one pointing if you've got multiple data providers and then one to the UNX.
Alan was asking, are there any additional support, better features for SAC in this version? Well, there's more functionality with 4.3 to going to SAC. So that has improved definitely since 4.2. Will bulk reporting use the RESTful SDK work?
Will bulk reporting using, okay, the RESTful SDK work? Yeah, I mean, that's what we're using behind the scenes with 360. I don't know if the question is if that's the question, or if you're going to write your own SDK. So yeah, you could do that as well if you have that knowledge. That's what you're asking.
Please note that there's been significant changes with 4.3. We actually had to recode quite significantly 360 to support 4.3. Paul was asking, hey Paul, do these audits show usage by linked universes? So I guess he was referring to 360 eyes earlier, which he owns.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're using linked universes, you should still see the usage on those.
Let's take a last one. How are existing WebI instances impacted? Do I need to create a new instance to truly represent the UNX?
No, I mean the WebI gets converted. It's pointing now to the UNX, and those instances stay with the document. So they will remain. So your instances will still run properly. So you shouldn't have to do any changes.
Let's take a last one. I see a question from Greg. When you manually report, you have options regarding the logic to use, such as same path and same name for objects, measures, and filters. Does the batch repoint always use same logic? If so, what logic does it use? So that's a question from Greg.
Yeah, so I actually, I answered that earlier.
Got it.
So we don't have all the options that are available when you do the manual, but yeah, it's those
so Belvinder is asking, when UNXs will be dead. Well, Belvinder, you're late, so you'll probably need to get beers for all the audience this time we see each other, but it's going to be end of life towards the end of 4.3. So I hope that answers, and all that will be covered actually in the slides. Pauline, it was great to have you today. As always, thank you very much for all your work. Also, Chris, who's just doing all the back office. Thank you very much for all your organization as always. Things worked out well. And guys, thanks all for joining. I hope you guys all had a great time. Definitely, I did. You'll be getting an email with the presentation, some links, make sure that you visit 360 Suite site, 360suite.io. Make sure at the end as well, take a couple questions or take a couple seconds just to answer the exit survey. And again, folks, that's all. Thanks all for joining, and be good, stay cool, and see you soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.